What's up, you guys? This is Josh here, bringing you an update on Wednesday, July 29th. Sorry about my brief disappearance for a couple of days. I was having some allergy issues and honestly didn't feel like recording. I know that's a bad excuse, but here we are. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. I am not going to edit it as much. It's kind of going to be like a shoot and post kind of situation. I want to bring you guys more of a casual update instead of like an oh so serious. So let me know if you like it. If you do, give it a thumbs up. If you don't, obviously give it a thumbs down. I want to be more casual with you guys instead of so more serious. There are a lot of YouTubers out there who are more serious, and that's just kind of not my personality. I like to talk about the economy, but I also like to have fun. So we're gonna see how this works out. So anyway, here we go. I hope you like the video. Please remember to hit that like and subscribe button down below, and let's get into it. Alright, so we know that earlier this week on Monday, we found out what was in the Republicans' stimulus package. We know at this point that the Democrats have drafted the CARES Act. That has passed the House. The Senate sat on it for a couple of months, and here we are. The Republicans in the Senate have drafted what they are calling the HEALS Act. Now, this is kind of a mess because most senators in the Senate, Republican senators anyway, don't even support the HEALS Act. And the Republicans right now are very divided on everything, and they quite honestly don't even know if they have enough votes to get the HEALS Act passed. The HEALS Act is about $1 trillion, and the CARES Act that was passed by the Democrats and what they want is around $3 trillion. So the Republicans right now are kind of talking about, like, we don't want to spend this much money. We just passed one of the biggest legislation packages back in April, March timeframe, in US history, and they're really trying to figure out what's going on. Now, I do think that it's important to set the tone right now, and think about where we are as a country. And so right now as a country, we know that we are setting records daily all across the globe for, the pandemic, the public health crisis, whatever you want to call it. And we also know that the American economy is very fragile right now, and it is experiencing a lot of different forces combining, and it's producing kind of a weird result, but also at the same time an effective result. And the reason that I say effective result is because without this, if you remember, for a couple of weeks in March, when this whole thing kind of came down on us, and like one day we were walking around regular life, and then the next day we were like, oh my God, there's a public health crisis and everybody has to go home and stay in their homes. Well, if you remember, the stock market was just going crazy. It was falling fast and very deep. We hit a couple of circuit breakers, which is where stocks have to stop being traded for a few minutes. It has different rules for each one. The first time you hit it, 7 minutes, and then the second, I think it's like maybe another 7 or 14. It's just a huge mess. So it was basically a free-for-all, and a lot of people lost a lot of money. But then we had the CARES Act, and we had the Federal Reserve backing up the stock market, and now they're buying all of these basically junk bonds, and they're basically stimulating the stock market. Now, we know that the $600 added-on benefit has really helped people who are unemployed. While we have seen a decrease in consumer spending, we've also seen a relatively stable economy thus far. So I really think the CARES Act was effective. Actually, I know the CARES Act was really effective in stabilizing us where we were. Now, with that being said, we have some major issues because these stimulus programs have now expired, and Congress is really separated on what they want and what they need right now. So let's go over exactly what was in the HILS Act. So the HILS Act gave us a reduction of unemployment benefits to $200 per week. Now keep in mind there's a $400 difference there. It was $600, now it's $200. And you're reducing that to $200 per week. And then in October, they're going to try to figure out what 70% of a person's salary was and basically get that person to 70% of their salary when they were working their job before COVID happened. Now, this is very, very, very much a problem because we know we've heard from several different states that even any change in the benefit would take a couple of months to implement just because these unemployment systems are very old, very outdated, and not efficient systems at all. And we've obviously never really had the need to invest in better unemployment systems because this is really a crisis that we've never experienced before, and we all pray to God that we won't experience it in the future. Now, with that being said, the $200 per week until October, and then they want to get people to 70% of their salary. Now, I don't know about you, but that sounds like a real disaster because in Georgia, at least, I think that there's maybe around 100 people total who are in charge of the unemployment system, and that's really going to be a lot of work for, you know, the millions of people. I think it's like 1.52 million people in Georgia who are on unemployment right now. That's a lot of work for 100 people to process, and we know that some states have actually had to hire consulting firms. Now, the entire United States cannot hire one consulting firm to come in and fix all of the issues because they simply won't have enough workers to spread across all of the states. And this is an issue that all of the states are experiencing right now. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. That's kind of where we're at right now. Let's see what happens. And we'll go forward. You know, if you're on unemployment right now, you're only going to get your state benefit at the end of this week that you can claim, which varies state by state. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about is the fact that the Republicans were willing to give people the $1,200 checks and keep those at the same income thresholds. That is good news because that money can get out the door rather quickly. I know in previous videos I had mentioned that there was a lot of debate about whether they were going to go back and retroactively give people who didn't get a check last time a check. That has not been mentioned. It's going to stay the same. It'll be really interesting to see if this passes or if Democrats are able to negotiate and get this bumped up and some more added on benefits to it. Now, another thing is that they have given more money for the Paycheck Protection Program. That program would allow businesses to go back and get more money if and only if they have experienced a 50% decrease in revenue from the same period last year. You know, some companies that had not really experienced any economic damage at all from the virus actually went and got PPP money last time. It was a really highly debated thing. Everybody was up in arms about, you know, like Kanye West company Yeezy and a lot of these other guys just like going out there and getting free money for the heck of it. You know, you know, you kind of can't blame them, but also at the same time, that was like not ethical to do. The criteria last time was really loose, and I think it was just because there wasn't a lot of time to get this money out the door. Now that we've had a few more months to figure things out and figure out exactly how they should work, hopefully it'll go a little better this time. Now, another thing is that the Republicans want some sort of liability protections for companies. Now, I think this is really interesting because I think that they're going to have to see it in the package or else it's just not going to pass. They're dead set on it. And so what I think is going to happen is that since the Republicans want liability protections for companies, I think Democrats are going to have some leverage for liability protections for workers. And I think those two things are going to combine to make the package. So it'll be really interesting to see exactly basically who what they want. So super excited to see about that. Now, the HEALS Act has also introduced a couple of options for student loan repayments where they account for housing, food, things like that, and they say that your student loan payment can never be more than 10% of your salary. And then they also gave another option of where you pay for 20 years for undergraduate or 25 years for graduate loans, and they're forgiven after that time period. So we need more details on that. This HEALS Act doesn't really specify a lot of stuff. This is very preliminary. There's going to be a lot of negotiating going on. I'm sure you've seen it in the news and read a lot about it. So who knows what's going to happen. I hope they get something passed before next week, before they go on a recess. One thing that we know is a major issue right now is mortgage loan forbearance and the eviction crisis. There was actually a chart put up by CNBC yesterday, and it was very alarming of the number of people that would be kicked out of their homes from eviction due to, you know, the $600 benefit expiring. That number was scary because in the state of Georgia, and the lowest number on the chart was 22% of people, and in Georgia it was 49% of people who were on unemployment would be kicked out of their homes due to the decrease in the benefits. We know from former studies that most Americans are not prepared for even a $1,000 emergency expense without having to go and take out a personal loan or borrow that money from somewhere or dip into their 401k, some sort of savings retirement plan. So a lot of people are going to be facing evictions. The HEALS Act actually kind of helped with that, with mortgage loan forbearance, things like that. So I'm sure that's going to stay in the package. There are a lot of things right now that are in both of these packages that are going to come together and actually help people, but we're still super divided over the unemployment benefit and then the liability protections for companies and workers. So those two things are really going to push the package forward. I think that we're more together right now than we actually realize, but there's just a lot of back and forth. All right, and then one last random thing that nobody really understands, I don't know why it's in there, is a tax deduction for business meals. Now, if you already have a business, you can already deduct a certain percentage of your meal when you go out to eat. The Republicans want to increase that to 100%. Why? I'm not really sure, because most people are not even in the office right now anyway. And then secondly, most people are not actually physically eating in a restaurant right now. So I don't know if you would utilize this by maybe having a Zoom or a Skype call and, you know, sending food to your team. I don't really know. I don't understand it. It's kind of random. That's really just a slush fund for people on Wall Street who want to go to nice lunches. I don't know who cares enough to lobby Congress to write off 100% of their business meals. I mean, it's like a dinner, so who cares? But somebody did, so it's in there. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? Just stay tuned to the news. Stay tuned to my videos. I'm back now with daily updates. Let me know if you like these videos to be more casual instead of more uppity. We're going to try to keep it and really connect with the audience. I say this, I'm very thankful for my 35 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for subscribing. With that being said, I will see you tomorrow. If there are more updates today that are super pressing and urgent, I'll be back to update you. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow, and best wishes.